My name My name is J. Marcy Colombino. My report is all about compressor. It includes setting up compressor and operating the compressor. What is compressor? Air compressor is a device that converts power using an electric motor, diesel, or gasoline engine into potential energy stored in pressurized air. An air compressor forces more and more air into the storage tank, increasing the pressure. When the tank pressure reaches its engineered upper limit, the air compressor shuts off. The compressed air then is held in the tank until called into use. The energy contained in the compressed air can be used for a variety of applications, utilizing the kinetic energy of air as it is released and the tank depressurizes. When tank pressure reaches in lower limit, the air compressor turns on again and repressurizes the tank. How to use an air compressor? Setting up the compressor. Check the pump oil level if your compressor isn't oil-free. Oil compressor, as well as large one, tend to be oil-filled. Locate the dipstick near the bottom and one of the compressor ends. Pull it out and check to see the oil level reaches about 2/3 of the way up the stick. If you doesn't, pour some compressor oil into the tank. First, if you need oil, it can be found at most home improvement, hardware, and auto part store. Second, if you're unsure about what kind of compressor you have, consult the owner's manual. Most small compressors are now oil-free, so that's why you may not see an oil tank or dipstick. 2. Attach the hose to the regulator valve. Set the compressor on the flat ground. Find the regulator valve, which should be right next to the smaller pressure gauge on one end of the compressor. In its round, copper-colored metal plug with a big hole in the middle. Push the pointed end of hose into the valve and attach it. 3. Plug your tool into the hose. Hold the hose in one hand and the power tool in the other hand. Slide the tools plug into your hose free end and twist them together until the tool lock in place. When the tool is securely, it won't slide off. If you are pumping a tire, push the coupler onto the tire's valve. 4. Plug your compressor into a grounded 3-prong outlet. Make sure the compressor power switch is turned off. Before plugging it in, avoid using extension cords if you can't reach a working outlet. Instead, get another air hose and plug it into the first one. First, to attach two hoses together, slide the plug end of one hose into the receiving end on the other hose. It works the same way as attaching a power tool to the hose. Second, extension cord aren't recommended because they can cause the compressor to overheat. And next is operating the compressor. First, in operating the compressor, put on safety goggles and closed-toe shoes. This is important to do in order to operate power tools safely. Wear polycarbonate goggles to protect your eyes, and good pair of shoes or boots shields your toes from any drop tools. Put on all your safety gears before attempting to operate the compressor. Second is pull on the safety valve to test it. Look for the copper colored plug near the hose line. It will be tightly in place on the compressor and may have having a ring that makes it easier to pull. Tug it towards to release the valve and listen for the hiss of escaping air. Push the valve back in place before starting the compressor. Hearing air hiss out of the valve is a sign that it works. Otherwise, if are able to pull the valve out and put it back in securely, it should be fine, even if you don't hear any air escape. Next, number 3 is turn on the compressor and wait for the tank to pressurize. Flip the electrical switch on the tank to turn it on. The machine will buzz to life. Watch the larger pressure gauge on the tank side. Wait for the needle to stop moving, signifying that the air inside has reached the maximum pressure. The second, smaller gauge near the hose display the air pressure in the hose. The display on the gauge won't move at all for the movement, which is fine. Next is check your tool to find how much pressure it needs. This information is usually printed on the tool. Look for a sticker or letters on the tool's underside near the handle. If you can't find there, consult the owner's manual for information. For example, the information may state that the tool functions with a maximum of 90 psi. For safety, keep the hose pressures at 75 to 85 psi. Every tool has a different rating, so you will need to adjust the pressure every time you switch tools. Next is adjust the pressure regulator knob to match the tool's PSI. The pressure regulator knob will be on the hose. Twist it counterclockwise to increase the amount of air flowing in the hose. Watch the smaller pressure gauge, also located on the hose, until it shows the pressure is at the level you need. And the last is operate the power tool while air is in the tank. Once pressurized air is in the hose, your tool is ready for use. Every time you see the tool, the pressure is in the tank will drop and begin refilling automatically. You won't need to make adjustment until you switch to a different tool. Check the pressure gauge again. If the power tool suddenly seems to stop working, this happens with smaller tank can refill fast enough to accommodate larger tools. Wait a moment for pressure to rebuild. And that's that's all my report.
Good day, ma'am. My name is Herminildo de la Cruz, and our topic is all about the S1 air compressor. I'm going to discuss different types of an air compressor and different parts of an air compressor. In different types of an air compressor, I'll just discuss three types: reciprocating compressor or piston compressor, rotary air compressor, and centrifugal air compressor. First one, reciprocating compressor or piston compressor is a positive displacement compressor that uses piston driven by a crankshaft to deliver gases at high pressure. Piston compressors are used in all areas of industries where compressed air is required. These machines are made out of a frame upon which the compressor and a compressed air tank are mounted. Next is rotary type air compressor. Uh, is a type of gas compressor such as an air compressor that uses a rotary type positive displacement mechanism. They commonly used to replace piston compressors where large volumes of high pressure are needed. It is used when large volumes of high pressure is needed. Third, centrifugal air compressor, sometimes called radial compressor, are subclass of dynamic accessimetry works absorbing turbomachinery. Centrifugal air compressors are best suited to applications where demand is relatively constant or in plants where they can be used for the base load operation, allowing other types of compressors to be used as stream machines to make peak demands. Yun yung three types of air compressor. Let's go to parts of an air compressor. First part of it. First, compressor pump. The pump compresses the air and discharges it into the receiver. It is the compressing stage of air in air compressor. Next is motor. Motor is an air compressor needs an electric motor to power up the machine. It is the main source of production of air compressor. Kung wala yung motor, the air compressor di gagana. Next, tank. This is the compressor part that store the air being compressed. It is the storage room for the storage room for the compressed air that is compressed sa stage ng compressor pump. It is that is compressed by the compressor pump. Next, pressure switch automatically shut down the motor when the receiver reaches the factory limit. It is the part of an air compressor where settings the air compressor pressure limit then automatically shut down the motor when the limit is reached. Kasi kung yung pressure keeps high, habang tumataas yung pressure, may tendency na pwede pumutok or sumabog yung tank sa sobrang high pressure. Yun. Next, drain valve. Drain valve, the main purpose of drain valve is to drain the oil, dirt, moisture, and other debris that might be trapped inside the tank. It is used to make sure that there is no remaining dirt or anything inside the tank, uh, para hindi na rin magka-aberya sa mga susunod pang gagawin. Next is pressure gauge. This this gauge measures compressed air pressure in the tank of the air compressor. It lets the user know that there is a problem if the measurement is higher than the regulated normal limit and serves as warning. Pressure gauges are mainly used as safety feature to prevent injury to users. By measuring the pressure, it is possible to keep a track of the amount of certain field, reducing it when necessary. So, yun po ma'am. Uh, I discussed. Tapos na. Thank you ma'am.
Hello guys, I'm reporter number 3 and I'm John Oliver A. De La Cruz. I will discuss the remaining topics for air compressor. So let's start with the classification of air compressor. So number 1 is low pressure air compressor LPACS, which have a discharge pressure of 150 psi or less. So number 2 is medium pressure air compressor, which have 151 to 1000 psi. So, and number 3, high pressure air compressor, which have above 1000 psi. So we can go now with common uses of air compressor. So number 1, we have the cleaning. So compressed air is useful tool for blasting dirt and dust out of and off. It can also be used to clean surface and other that are dust. So number 2 is painting. They are commonly used in the auto body industry to paint vehicles. And number 3, we have powering pneumatic tools. Air power tools where it is used everywhere in construction sites. And number 4 is transportation. Small pneumatic tubes can be used to move small individual parts. And number 5, we have food and beverages processing. In the production of food, they also use air compressor for the process of making soft drinks or other process. And number 6 is injection molding. So common example is in making in molding for plastic. So we can go now with test of air compressor. So we have two types of measurement of free air delivery. We have the nozzle method and the tank fill-in method. Yung unang klase ng free air delivery natin is yung nozzle method. May video tayo dito. Yan, so FAD calculation of compressors. Yan, free air delivery. So, is the actual flow rate rather than rated volume of flow. It's called free air delivery or FAD because it's mean airflow rate at atmospheric condition at any specific location and not standard condition. One of the ways of assessing performance of the compressor is by measuring capacity of the compressor. So cubic feet per minute is the standard unit for measuring of airflow rate. Yung unang test na 'to is ang gagawin nila is i-me-measure mo kung i-me-measure mo kung gaano kadami yung lumalabas na air sa air compressor. Yung unit na gagamitan mo is cubic feet per minute. So, yun yung basehan nila kung gaano kadami. Yan, measurement of air using nozzle method. So, yung principle natin is specially shaped nozzle discharge air to the atmosphere from a receiver getting its supply from a compressor. Sonic flow conditions set in the nozzle throat for a specific ratio of upstream pressure or the receiver to the downstream pressure atmospheric. Mach number equals 1. So when the pressure in the receiver is kept constant for a reasonable interval of time, the airflow output of the compressor is equals to that of the nozzle and can be calculated from the down characteristics of the nozzle. So this is the diagram of the nozzle method. Yan, papasok siya sa filter and compressor and papasok siya sa receiver and the throttle valve into the flow and discharge to the atmosphere. So, simple lang yung sa nozzle method. Gagawin lang nila is papalitan nila ng magkakaibang nozzle method ay nozzle, then susukat nila kung gaano kadami yung nilalabas niyang air sa air compressor. Yan yung actual na gagawin nila. So, switch on the compressor. Check for abnormal noise. Allow it to stabilize. So, after the stabilization for 2 hours, i-measure mo yung barometric pressure and dry and wet temperature. And number 2 is inlet air temperature. So, ito yung ito na ngayon yung following sizes of nozzles are recommended for the range of capacities indicated below. Yan yung ginawa nilang mga nozzle sizes. At sa bawat sizes na yan yung volume na kung gaano kadami yung lumalabas na air sa ating air compressor. Then, yun yung una nating type ng free air delivery, the nozzle method. Then, yung pangalawa nating type is tank fill-in method. Another way of determining free air delivery is by tank filling method or receiving filling method or pump up method. Time taken by the compressor to fill a known volume of receiver to a predetermined pressure is converted into FAD of the compressor. So, yung test na ito is simple lang. Pupunain nila yung yung tank na yon is pupunuin ng air, then susukatin kung gaano niya kabilis pupunin yun. Then, may video tayo dito. Ito yung video natin. Switch on the compressor. Pupunin niya lang yung tangke and then orasan nila. Yan, isiset nila yung timer. So, yan yung susukatin hanggang 8 kilogram. So, yan yung oras na napuno niya, yung tank 3 and 26 minutes. Then, yung pangalawa nating test is the hydrostatic testing. It's a way in which pressure vessel as pipelines, plumbing, gas cylinder, boilers, and fuel tanks can be tested for strength in leaks. So the test involves usually water which may be dyed to aid visual leak detection and pressurization of the vessel to the specific test pressure. Sa test na ito, so yung pangalan niya is hydrostatic. Nagamit sila ng water para i-test kung kumbaga sa isang tank iti-test, pupunin nila yung isang tank ng tubig, then yung matitirang pressure dun sa top ng tank, yun yung i-measure nila kung gaano kalakas yung pressure, compressed air na lalabas dun. So, tingnan natin yung video. So, ito yung video ng hydro pressure testing and air compressor tank. So, ito yung explanation niya. Lalagyan niya ng pressure sa gilid and lalagyan ng pressure gauge sa top. Yan yung pressure pump niya. So, yan na. Papasok nyo na yung tubig. Yeah, yun napuno na yung tubig kaya ititigil yun na. Lalagay na siya ng pressure gauge. So, may measure na yung air na na-compress dyan. So, yan, hanggang 150 PSI. So, yun yung mga test na para sa air compressor. Then, pupunta naman tayo sa safety precautions of operating air compressor. So, number 1, use gas air compressor outdoors. So, kailangan naman gamitin mo yung air compressor sa loob ng bahay, which is delikado siya. Then, number 2 is wear safety goggles and gloves. So, kailangan din natin ng PPE bago gamitin yung air compressor. And use a self-retracting cord. And number 4, use an OSHA approved nozzle. And number 5, check for oil and air leaks. And number 6 is follow manufacturer's recommended maintenance. So, yun lang po yung report namin as air compressor. And salamat po.